Hi, welcome to another BPO Connect webinar. Today we'll tackle the great outsourcing debate for accountants. I'm going to try to get through a lot today, so if you have any questions at the end, I'll put up some details about how to get in contact. As some of you may already know, I'm Catherine Gallen from BPO Connect, and I'll be your presenter. Now, the accounting industry is experiencing a lot of upheaval today due to continued globalization, growing business and regulatory complexity, involvement of intelligent accounting software. So what does this mean for accountants? Well, technology is making it easier to provide more services to clients, which in turn means that clients demand more services, real-time data, information from their accountant. Also, with the cost of compliance rising, it becomes harder for smaller practices to compete with larger firms to provide these value-add services and stay up to date with software and security. So these two trends have underlying issues that affect accountants, particularly smaller accountants, and that is losing clients to bigger firms, not spending sufficient time with clients, keeping up to date with the latest IT solutions, as I mentioned, lacking time and resources to devote to sales and marketing, and having insufficient time to invest in regulatory or compliance issues. So to combat some of these issues, some accounting firms have already turned to outsourcing. So here are some of the reasons accountants cite as to why they outsource a portion of their work, according to a 2010 CPA survey. And those are some of the same issues I just addressed a moment ago: access new markets for products, increased speed to market, global and growth strategies, improve service levels, competitive pressure, or perhaps to enhance that efficiency through process redesign. So now I want to go over some of the biggest pros and cons we hear on either side of the outsourcing debate, but I'm not going to sugarcoat things. So first off, the disadvantages. Quality, especially if lacking proper processes and control checks. Quality may present a problem if you don't lay out specific expectations of what you want from the start, and the quality level is not specified in the service level agreement. So to combat this, the outsourcing provider should have appropriate checks and reviews in place, perhaps both off and onshore, to ensure that what you receive meets your quality standards. And this is why some outsourcing providers, such as BPO Connect, give you the option to trial jobs with no obligation in order to iron out issues early on. So trialing jobs, in addition to a detailed service level agreement or SLA, helps to maintain consistent quality standards. So another problem that we see is unforeseen setup cost or software cost. So some outsourcing providers charge by the hour, others by the completed job. So it's important to understand costs up front, particularly setup and disengagement costs. So if you're using an outsourcing provider to transition to new accounting software, you should know whether or not that software cost is included in the quoted price. So what's the pricing difference also between a basic and more complex compliance for an SMSF, for instance? These are the types of questions you should ask and know before going with a vendor. So another possible disadvantage is explaining confidentiality issues to clients. So we've come across some accountants who are afraid to outsource for fear of losing clients. Yet, in reality, we have never heard of an accounting practice losing a client due to outsourcing. And that's because, one, we encourage you to be open and upfront with your clients if you choose to outsource. And two, our work is behind the scenes, which means that your clients continue to deal directly with you. In the last decade, outsourcing has truly become commonplace among smaller practices and accepted by many, many small businesses. So if it's not a good cultural fit between yourself and the outsourcing provider, this may present another problem. Does the outsourcing provider have similar values to your company, and do your goals align? It may be important for you to meet with your account manager to ensure a good fit, or perhaps meet with a team directly. So some of our clients enjoy working directly with their overseeing team members, for example, while others are happy to leave work with their Australian account manager. It all depends on your comfort level, clear communication, and your openness to understand that there may be cultural nuances. And finally, another disadvantage I'll talk about today is loss of managerial control, particularly if you lack experience outsourcing. So if you are used to doing everything by yourself or you're a perfectionist, it may already be challenging for you to delegate work. So there may be comfort in knowing that you have the ultimate control in reviewing work and setting clear expectations and instructions. But to a certain extent, you have to let go to trust your team to execute the job so that you can take advantage of the time-saving aspect of outsourcing and spend your time on higher value work. So now hopefully you would engage the right outsourcing provider to reap some of these advantages. So let's go over some of the pros. To increase process efficiency and quick turnaround times. For less than the cost of hiring a new employee in Australia, you could have a team of qualified accountants working for you. At BPO Connect, for example, we have staff in Australia and in our delivery centers overseas working for longer business hours and support hours to get things back to you on time. Another advantage is cost saving, to have no overheads or additional staff or training costs. So outsourcing providers cover the overheads of their staff and their training. So for instance, we heavily invest in training our staff in the latest Australian accounting laws. And if you go with an established provider such as ourselves, you'll know the costs up front with predictable pricing. Another advantage, offering value-add services and spending more time with clients. You can be across your client's financial affairs and keep work in-house by offering additional services such as bookkeeping and payroll, which can be white-labeled under your brand. This can bring in a new revenue stream while ensuring their bookkeeping is completed on time and to your standards. Also, spending more time with clients and letting the vendor do more back-office work behind the scenes. Another one, flexibility in what you outsource, including moving processes to the cloud. You have the ultimate control in what processes and what kind of work you outsource. You might need assistance just for tax time, but you can work with an outsourcing provider as often or as little as you like. Again, it comes down to knowing your business requirements before you outsource. And finally, today we'll talk about growing your business by focusing on client retention, marketing, providing additional services, etc. With outsourcing, you can free up your time to work on growing your business or helping your clients more. Leave the data entry and repeatable processes to the outsourcing company so that you can focus on advisory. Now, before I jump into what the outsourcing process looks like, I want to specify that today we'll be looking at what we called F&A BPO, or Finance Accounting Business Process Outsourcing, which is outsourcing back-office functions to an outsourcing provider that specializes in accounting and finance. Finance and Accounting BPO covers everything from bookkeeping, payroll, basic data entry, through to more complex self-managed Superfund audit and compliance. Now, your back-office functions are generally your repeatable data entry and repeatable process work. So where do we fit in? BPO Connect is an Australian-owned BPO provider of these back-office functions, and unlike a lot of other BPO providers on the market, we have a strong onshore presence in Australia, in addition to having our delivery centers abroad. So now, if you're new to outsourcing, what can you reasonably expect from a provider to get set up and going? So this is just a rough idea of the end-to-end process from your point of view. After you complete a business or strategic need assessment, either on your own or with an outsourcing provider, and have selected the provider you'd like to engage, you'll negotiate the price, work out the details in a service level agreement. When you transition work through trials and begin outsourcing, your outsourcing provider should be looking for ways to constantly improve service and output. This would be part of the continuance or modification stage. This may also be an exit stage if, for instance, you pull out, or if you were using an outsourcing provider for a one-off job or project. It could be setting up your own outsourcing teams, using a build your own and transfer model, or perhaps utilizing a BPO provider to switch from one accounting software to another platform. Since the first 3 steps are about selecting the provider, I'm going to jump to stage 4 and look at transitioning and implementing outsourcing a bit more closely. So at BPO Connect, we have a 5-step transition methodology in addition to using Six Sigma and a combo of process reviews to make sure setup and transition is smooth and comprehensive. The first and foremost step we take with a new client is to work through and analyze your needs, specific time and quality requirements. We'll work closely with you to draw out process maps, time frames. Then in our next step, we'll do more detailed plans to meet your requirements. If it means locating your team or setting up IT infrastructure, that's all done on our end. So when we trial, all of our teams are already trained and continuously trained in the latest Australian accounting and finance standards, but we'll make sure that they meet your requirements and use your systems. So during this time, our team will ask plenty of questions and make sure those issues are ironed out. Then we'll transition the rest of the work in the next stage. You'll have an account manager as your primary point of contact to make things easier for you so that when we go live with work in the process, we'll continue to review and fine-tune it. One of the core values of our business, and that employees are very keenly aware of, is continuous improvement. The key focus to work on improving existing systems. So what might it look like to implement a process? Well, here's an example of a basic bookkeeping process flow. Starting from the top left, as a client, you may send us documents via an online portal. Let's say you send receipts to Shoebox. Our team can access that account to file or sort based on the categories you define. If a team's lacking information, or let's say we're missing a file, we'll contact you straight away. But if everything checks out, our team will work to upload the files and complete the bookkeeping in your accounting software. So in this example, it's 0. But we'll check the work and have it ready for you to access the bookkeeping for your clients in one central location, helping you keep a better handle on your clients' financial wealth with in-house bookkeeping. Now here's another example of a basic SMSF workflow. Again, these examples are pretty basic. They might be more complex depending on your needs, but I'm just trying to give you a rough outline of the overall process. So the first thing we do at BPO Connect with SMSFs is assign you an account manager. This person will be your experienced, dedicated Australian point of contact. You'll be able to reach your manager via email, phone, chat during regular business hours, and you'll also be assigned an overseas team with a minimum experience of 5 years working in SMSFs. Next, we'll request access to your documentation. We'll work with whatever software program you use, or if you prefer, you may send us your files so that we can set up a new account for you in one of our more commonly used programs such as BGL, Supermate, Class Super. You get the idea. So once everything's set up, we will get to work with daily processing and monthly reporting. Whenever necessary, your account manager will call your attention to issues that need to be dealt with, and we'll resolve them based on the answers you give us. At the end of the financial year, we'll provide you with models you need and prepare your income tax returns. We'll also customize your work papers and link them in preparation for your yearly audits. Now, it's important for you to review your client information as painless and quick as possible. So now I just mentioned that the SMSF compliance process involves our team preparing work papers for your review. So at BPO Connect, we prepare our work papers electronically, so your file is both interactive and readily accessible. We make it easy to ensure your paperwork is correctly prepared. So we show you where to find the underpinning source papers and how to mark line items as correct using Adobe Editor. So if you'd like to see a quick demo of our work papers for SMSF, you can go to this link, and we've got a quick video that'll show you how. Now, just a little bit about IT systems that make outsourcing possible. Financial data has to stay in Australia, so at BPO Connect, we use secure servers to log into our Australian server. We store data on multiple Australian servers as a fail-safe mechanism, and our terminal server uses the same security as banking-related software. Only authorized staff can access your files, and our operational team offices located in Sri Lanka, India, and Australia access this Sydney server. So all data transferred by you or your clients goes to our Australian server. And a bit about the scenes behind how we attract talent. You see, we cover the costs associated with overheads and staff training. So all accounting associates, once they're hired, must go through an 8 weeks induction training covering Australian accounting and taxation. Accounting associates must pass an assessment test administered at the end and pass with a minimum score of 80% before being assigned live client work. And we require employees to continually complete weekly 2-hour refresher continuous training programs run by Australian experts to enhance the bookkeeping, accounting, taxation, and SMSF knowledge of our team. And then to add to that, we also encourage staff to pursue professional qualifications and provide tuition reimbursements on successfully clearing exams. So now I just want to leave you with a few questions to consider if you are thinking about outsourcing. And so I've kind of divided these up into 3 main areas. Firstly, personal questions to ask yourself and your partners. Do you have the foresight to see how outsourcing fits within your business strategy? Are you sensitive to cultural differences? Are you a good communicator? And are you able to embrace change and champion outsourcing in your firm? So to analyze your requirements, what services or processes can be improved or save you time by outsourcing? Is there a potential revenue stream or a new market you can access by outsourcing? Are you looking to migrate to a new software system or move to the cloud? Do you need extra support for busy periods without hiring new employees? And now finally, to deal with selecting a provider. Does the BPO Connect provider have the scope for your business requirements? Does the BPO provider have sound security systems, protocols, and privacy agreements in place? Does the provider invest in staff retention and training in accounting and finance? Does the provider have onshore and offline support? Who is your point of contact? And finally, can that provider give you client references? Now, just to mention really quickly, our next webinar will be on end of financial year, and we'll provide a guide for both accountants and SMEs and recap due dates, what documents you'll need, and reminders for both accountants and small businesses. So you can visit the homepage of our website to sign up now. Now, I'll try to finish on time, so I want to thank you all for tuning in. If you do have any questions about today's webinar, don't hesitate to email me. It's Catherine@bpoconnect.com.au. I look forward to hearing you and seeing you next time. Thank you.